Are you listening? Damn.
Welcome to AFC North Talk. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, joined by my panel, Tony Sereno. We have Sonny of SZG Sports. Quincy is still showing up, so I don't think that Quincy
He'll make it.
Going to be here. He is currently on his way back with a gift. You guys that follow the show know what I'm talking about. If this is your first time here, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends. But Tony, how are you doing today, man? I'm pretty sure you're doing pretty swell there, unfortunately for me and the rest of the guys, right?
I would say I'm on cloud 9. I'm on cloud 7-0 right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Baltimore Ravens. I want you guys to know, I know this looks like I'm wearing a Ben Roethlisberger jersey today. I'm actually wearing a commemorative jersey that I got to commemorate Lamar Jackson's 7 turnovers against the Steelers in his 2 starts. So that's what's going on today.
Sonny, how you doing today, man?
Oh man, having to listen to this BS already, but I can't wait to talk.
You only got another hour, don't worry. So you got 58 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
So before we get into it, let's just start with some of the other games until we give Quincy a chance to show up here, donning that special item. Let's talk about Bengals and Titans. My Bengals, as you guys know, finally got that second win of the season, but I'm going to kick it off with Tony to get your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, so I think I was the only one last week who said, and I'm not trying to give myself credit here, right? Because I said the game would be close, but the Titans would win. Well, this is a little closer than even I thought it was going to be, right? Because it turns out that the Bengals were the ones that controlled the majority of this game. I think they were in the lead for pretty much the entirety of the football game. Look, this was a shocking result, but when I went back and actually watched the tape, one of the things that stood out to me in this game is that Tannehill made a mistake early in this game, red zone turnover, very uncharacteristic of him. The Titans had a chance to go up big, but I want to give credit because obviously, getting interceptions, getting turnovers on Tannehill, not easy, as my Steelers found out a week ago when they couldn't get a single turnover on that Titans team. Credit to Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates is playing at an unbelievable level right now. We talked about him in his rookie year and how good he was, and he took a step back in year 2. This guy, look, Mink is not playing at an all-pro level right now. Jesse Bates is an all-pro safety for the Cincinnati Bengals right now. Unbelievable football from him. So credit to him for that play. Huge play in the game. But look, one thing that should not be surprising right now is that, this Bengals team is in a lot of football games because of their offense. It's an offense-driven league. But what even I didn't realize after watching this football game and then looking at the numbers, if you look at it since T. Higgins really became a big part of this offense, and by that I mean really the last 3 weeks, right? Because I talked about it before. Hey, this offense can't win if it's just the Tyler Boyd show. They need a number 2. Well, if you look at just the last 3 weeks, weeks 6, 7, and 8, the Bengals have the second best offense in the National Football League, behind only Tampa Bay over those 3 weeks. So, I don't know if it's a team cohesion thing, right? We talk about, Carlos Dunlap and him leaving the team and all the problems with John Ross, and it seems like John Ross may be on his way out as well. But boy, credit to this Bengals offense and what they've been able to put together specifically in the passing game, because Joe Mixon's been hurt the last couple weeks. So Burrow's playing fantastic, but he's got some weapons to work with now, because Tyler Boyd, as we knew from a year ago, he could be a solid number 1 type, but now they have T. Higgins to go along with it. AJ Green came along. He wasn't big in this game, but boy, Auden Tate showed up again. And so you have a real weapon here. And I'm, look, as I said about Zach Taylor, I hope he gets fired because, boy, he's putting together a hell of a unit here in Cincinnati. And they're very quickly becoming that team that is not an easy out, right? You go up against Joe Burrow. Yes, you expect to win because it's a rookie quarterback, and the Bengals have been a bad team over the last couple of years. But I don't think they're an easy out. As Tennessee found out on Sunday, if you don't come in and play solid, and especially on offense, you don't play mistake-free football, or you don't force Joe Burrow into big mistakes, you can easily lose to this football team. And so credit to the Bengals for a big win.
Sonny, what are your thoughts on the Bengals Titans game?
Watching this game, Burrow keeps impressing me, right? I mean, Joe Burrow has been as good of a rookie that I ever seen, a quarterback rookie that I ever seen. I mean, it's impressive because I went back and watched this game, I was like, what happened? Right? We know Tennessee doesn't rush the passer, but it wasn't like there was no pressure on Burrow. Burrow was getting pressure, and he was still completing the ball. And there was a good running game, which balanced between Gio and the other
Samaje
running back.
Perine.
Yeah, between both of them, I think there was near 25 to 30 carries, which is just what you want. I kept saying, make sure you run the ball. That will set up play action. That helps with the pressure. But still, the pressure was getting there. Burrow was there, holding tall, throwing the ball. I do think, although it was a PI, which I think it was kind of a bogus PI, but that last throw or not last, but near the fourth quarter, they got called back. That was a bad pass. That pass should not be made by Joe Burrow in that position. They're winning. No, the only way they can get back is with a turnover. There's no time for risk. At that point, you just eat the ball. If you take a sack, you lay down, whatever it is, turnover is the only way you get back. But that's pretty much all I can say about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow played a pretty flawless game as I was watching this game. And this is how the Bengals can win. The offense can produce points. I think the only game that they haven't produced points was the Ravens, right? Ace, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the only game that they didn't produce points.
Exactly.
Other than that, they have produced points. So producing points is usually not the problem with them. It's defense. If the defense comes in place, they have a big shot to win. The reality is, I, for one, didn't think they're going to win because I thought Henry was just going to eat them alive. Now, Henry had a good game. This is not that Henry had a bad game, but the offense took Henry, in theory, out of this game because when you're up that big, well, then you have to limit the carries in the running back. So the offense took care of Henry. The defense, they really couldn't stop Henry. And then Corey Davis basically produced a bunch of yardage, mostly in the fourth quarter. And that's where also Tannehill. So Tannehill had a bad game. Tannehill, not a horrible game, but he wasn't able to move the ball fairly. I think that this defense actually came and showed up that they were ready to play. And the miss, because I tweeted to you, Ace, and I said, like, your boy Taylor ain't going nowhere.
Right.
He's not leaving. But the reality is, what I think is Taylor looks like to be a really good OC. The question is, can he migrate from the mind of an OC to being a head coach? And some people can do that. Some people can't. Time will tell. He ain't going nowhere. Trading deadline is coming in November 2nd, right? So we're talking about tomorrow, or not 2nd, the 4th, right? When is the trade deadline? Thursday or Tuesday?
I think it's actually tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, you're right.
That's why so many got done today because
Yeah.
facilities are shut down tomorrow because it's voting day. You know, like we moved stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason I'm bringing that up is I do think the Bengals still should move on for some of their players. If they're not, like, for example, AJ Green, if they really don't think they're going to sign him next year, why keep him? Bring a pick because you have pieces there, and the other three receivers are more than capable to keep helping Burrow growth. But if you think you have a player that he's not going to be in your future, why keeping him? There's no need. Burrow, again, playing it right now in a level that we haven't seen or very little quarterback in the league as a rookie playing. And that's with a horrible O-line. I cannot stress this thing enough. This is with a bad O-line. We did talk about this. Burrow doesn't lack weapons, right? I think they can use a better tight end. But receiver-wise, the receiving core right now, best in the AFC North, right? But and even in the AFC, it's one of the top in the AFC. And if they had a good, I'm not saying elite O-line, good O-line, oh my God. I mean, the damage that Burrow can make is even, I mean, it would be crazy. So saying that, I think the Bengals, what they need to do right now is think, we need to bolster our O-line. That should be number one of anything. Let's trade the pieces that we're not going to bring next year. Let's keep the growth on Burrow because right now how this team is playing, they're going to win about 6 games at least, right? And so that's probably a 14 pick around there. So trade so you can get more capital in case you need to trade higher for a tackle. But I'm impressed with Burrow and the Bengals. Bengals, for all the stuff we talk about, the turmoil, they're not quitting.
Yeah, definitely. So shout out to the Trib1 here. He sent us a super chat and is saying Burrow played like a first pick in the draft type. So let's talk about it. So obviously last week I did not expect this team to come out and win, and it was because we were going against the Tennessee Titans team at the time that was 5-1, and it was also the fact that the Bengals had a lot of injuries, right? You talk about Joe Mixon being out of this game. You talk about 3 offensive linemen being hurt in the past game, essentially all of your starters there. And then Sunday morning, we find out the last guy that's left on the starting offensive line is also out with Michael Jordan. And so I was just going to say a prayer for Burrow because I was like, all right, we literally have, guys that just showed up yesterday starting in this game. They don't know the offense. Like literally every single starting offensive lineman for the Bengals, with the exception of Alex Redmond, who was essentially brought up from the practice squad 3 weeks ago, was the most experienced guy starting there in terms of playing time. So you had a team, our offensive line headed by Billy Price, who, as you guys know that have watched this show, I have told you he has not lived up to that billing at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
We talked about Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson was starting right tackle. We had Hakeem Adeniji, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a 6th-round pick starting at the left tackle position. It was just going into that game, I was just like, oh, man, this is going to get ugly. This is going to get ugly. And obviously we also talked about Derrick Henry and things like that. But the thing that impressed me the most was that this was a huge game for Billy Price because he was playing that center position, which is the quarterback of the offensive line. So he had to let these guys know who had basically 0 starting experience, with the exception of Redmond, where to block, what to do with guys. And they filled in admirably. Not only did they fill in admirably, this was the first time that they've given up no sacks outside of Jacksonville. And it was crazy. And I think the other thing is, we talked about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is the equalizer. For him to not have this offensive line, to have any starters really there with the exception of Redmond, and to play the way that he did was amazing. But the other thing that I noticed in this game is part of the issues with the offensive line has also been Joe Burrow not getting the ball away, not having complete pocket presence. That was completely different in this game. He was moving around that pocket, maneuvering and making the right moves and right decisions. And that's what really stood out to me the most. Now, we talk about the receivers and this team moving on from certain guys. I think that this team, and Joe Burrow said this after the conference, and I've been telling you guys this for weeks, this team could easily have won 5 games. So they don't view themselves as a team that has only won 2 games to this point. They literally, if you look at the past 3 weeks, when you look at the Cleveland game, when you look at the Indianapolis Colts game, even if you go back to the beginning with the Chargers game and the first Browns game, those are games that they feel like they should have won. But if you really think about it, this wasn't the first time that the Bengals jumped out to a lead over the other teams in the past 3 weeks. They were up on the Indianapolis Colts. They were up on Cleveland considerably. And what they did was they couldn't close those games out. This coaching staff couldn't get it done. Lou Anarumu's defense just got dismantled in that Browns game. And one thing that I definitely saw in this game and that I've seen in the coming weeks, which is why you haven't heard me ripping on Zach Taylor as much, is that Zach is getting better as an actual head coach when it comes to that in terms of maintaining the right timeouts, situational football. He's getting better from week to week. The thing that stood out to me the most was that Lou Anarumu took a ton of heat last week, right? And I talked about him not holding him accountable. Well, on the sideline, when Lou started giving up those plays that we've typically seen, you saw Zach Taylor go over to Lou Anarumu and make sure that the defense that was being run was the right one and that things were working as they should. Whereas in the past, you've never seen that. This is an offensive-minded guy. He's not even thinking about that. He was over there making sure that he did not make any mistakes there. The other thing, like you guys also hit on, is Tyler Boyd was amazing. And T. Higgins was amazing. This was a T. Higgins game. Jonathan Joseph, I mean, the Titans, I think, essentially just traded for another corner because no one could stop T. Higgins in this game. It was almost at one point ridiculous. And in the first half, AJ Green definitely had some drops. But the thing and the reason why I think that this works, and I talked with some other Bengals guys on keeping these 3 together, is because AJ Green's always going to draw that number 1 corner, right? And he drew Malcolm Butler in this game. And that was able to free up, that led to them being able to free up Boyd and as well as Higgins. So I actually can see a scenario where AJ Green does come back. Yes, he needs to take a lesser role. Yes, he needs to take lesser money. There's no way that you're going to pay him $18 million a year. but I think he's also comfortable with that situation as well. Coming in and just being that veteran guy, similar to a Larry Fitzgerald, that's going to come in and coach up the young guys like T. Higgins and like those guys there. But you also saw Auden Tate come in and just blow it up. And this Bengals team, you look at the schedule coming out of this, obviously it's going to be a tall order for them to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? But when you look at the schedule after that, you've got a winnable game in the Washington Redskins. You've got a winnable game against the Giants. You've got the Miami Dolphins. You got the Cowboys. This could be a team that if they go into the bye and make the proper adjustments and come out, they could go on a little bit of a run. They may not make the playoffs or anything like that. I think that that's a stretch right now, but they could easily win 4 or 5 more games, I think, with the remaining schedule. So Joe Burrow, definitely impressive, not playing like a rookie, got bailed out at the end with a defensive call on a really bad interception there, but the Bengals were able to close out the game, something that they have not been able to do lately. And we have just been joined by my man Quincy. Quincy, what's going on? And let us know what you think about this Bengals and Titans.
Well,
game.
actually, before he goes on Bengals, Quincy, I just wanted to, Quincy, how you feeling? How you feeling right now? How does it feel? Right? How does it feel on you?
Well, I'm wearing a hoodie underneath it, so it's not touching my skin, so I'm not burning. So that's always great. But for those of you, because the chat went nuts, look, this is not by my own will. I ran my mouth and said that the Steelers, no way, 0% chance would they go 7-0, to which Tony said, I think they will. Confidently. I thought that was so hilarious. Like, I'll wear a Steelers shirt or jersey, whatever, if this happens. So I had to go up and down the east side of Cleveland to find the one Steelers shirt at a Plato's Closet. That's how deep my search went. And here I am, ladies and gentlemen, late, but having to wear this is a one-time only thing. I'm not even putting my real name on there. I'm Tony Torino today.
Afterwards. You gotta burn it afterwards.
Hey, we appreciate it. We Steeler fans appreciate it, Quincy. Your dedication to the cause. And welcome to the Steeler Nation.
Oh no, this is terrible. This is terrible. All right, so let's talk about
cheer for a winner.
Oh my God, it'll get on me having to cheer for Baltimore in a second. By the way, Baltimore fans, y'all not gonna like what I have to say. But
they're not gonna like what any of us have to say.
All right, but let's talk about this Bengals game. The Bengals, I felt like impressive what they did there. I think they've been peaking at this level a little bit. They played a good Cleveland team. They almost beat them. They would have beat them if it weren't for some very, very like late game heroics by Baker Mayfield there at the end of it. So that's a game that they should have won. They did everything they could have to win offensively. Defensively, they couldn't hold it out. They've had a couple of games like this in a row where they were playing really well. They just could not finish. And what you're finding out is that your young quarterback is making up for a lot of like bad coaching staff decisions. And that's going to happen. Again, Deshaun Watson was able to keep Bill O'Brien employed at Houston for a long time because he's that good. I comp Joe Burrow to Deshaun Watson. I think he's good enough to where you can get away with some bad coaching there. Is that going to be great for the long-term health of this team? I don't know, but it definitely signals to me that this team's days of being it's the Bengals are pretty much over. I thought they were over at the beginning of the season. I thought they played well throughout the season, no matter how much turmoil they've had going in. They're getting rid of some of that. They're giving Zach Taylor a chance to have his own locker room culture. And who knows, maybe once he has that, he learns some things and becomes an NFL coach. The good thing is that, hey, he might have the time. Joey Burrow looks like he's going to be good enough early enough that it's going to save his job, essentially. And I think this team is going to be much like the late 2018 Browns, where they're going to look a lot better late than they did early on due to some record things, due to not playing tougher teams, but also due to just being a better team.
Yeah.
Right. I definitely agree. So shout out in the super chat to my man Vape Guy. He says, smile, it's John from Kentucky, and who they John from Kentucky. Appreciate that.
Hey,
so
I do want to mention real quick about the AJ Green stuff, because we talk about trading AJ Green. Remember, the Bengals, even if they let him walk, they could get a compensatory pick back. In fact, in all likelihood, they will get a compensatory pick back, depending on how big the contract he signed. So whatever they get back for him now, and we're watching Desmond King getting traded for a 6th round pick. I don't know what the compensation they would get back for AJ Green, or if it will be better than the comp pick they could get back. Now, the comp pick will be 2 years from now, so that's one thing to take into consideration.
Yeah, with AJ Green, I don't think that he's going to get traded simply because he signed that franchise deal.
Right.
So
right.
if someone wants to pay $18 million for his services, then
And maybe
for
the Saints are taking on everybody. The Saints are taking everybody on. Right. They don't believe in the salary cap.
Right, definitely. I think personally, I think it's more likely that they're definitely going to try to get John Ross out there.
Yeah.
People have called about Geno as well. It doesn't seem that Geno is a guy that they want to move on from, but we'll have to see. We'll definitely have to see. If I had to give a percentage myself, I'd probably say that there's an 80% chance that AJ Green isn't going to get traded, and we'll have to see depending on what he asks for in the offseason whether he's going to be back or not. But moving on. Let's talk about this Browns-Raiders game. Quincy, let me know what happened because I had the Browns winning this game. That was one of the ugliest and hardest games to watch, but I think that it definitely had to do with some weather involved. But what were your thoughts on that game?
I've been complaining about the defensive line since the beginning of the season, since the off season, and now the chickens are coming home to roost when it comes to the Cleveland Browns on that side of the ball. Look, outside of Myles Garrett, you got nothing. You got absolutely zero. You got some names. You got some people we're familiar with. You got some people that people think are good, but you got nothing in reality. You really got nothing. Yeah, Ogunjobi is great as a pass rusher. He's limited as a run stuffer.
Yes,
it looked like that was stopping. It would look like that stopped at the beginning of the season. He missed a couple games because of that domino, and now he's back to being Larry Ogunjobi, where it's just a hole down the middle every time he's there. And that's a massive problem. When Myles Garrett only can take 50% of the snaps that game because he hurt his ankle earlier in the week, and then he's hurting his knee during the game. One that signals that he's asked to do way too much. You're asking Myles Garrett routinely to beat double teams, to beat two offensive linemen and a chip most of the time. And he can do it because he's Myles Garrett. But there is a limit to what a human being can do on a football field, and they're at that limit with Myles Garrett. The fact that all these weeks, we saw it in the Bengals game, they were putting 3 heads on Myles Garrett. Nobody could beat their one-on-one. Olivier Vernon couldn't beat his one-on-one. Sheldon Richardson couldn't beat his one-on-one. Larry Ogunjobi could not beat his one-on-one. And these are not premium one-on-ones. I know the Bengals offensive line play better in Tennessee, but come on, like you're playing Billy Price. Like you're playing Bobby Hart's backup. These aren't grade A players. This isn't the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line or Baltimore's. Well, Baltimore's now hurt too. So it's like the signs were there for something like this to happen. And the stopping the inside run was something I was concerned about at the beginning of the season. It seemed to stop at that start of the season. Now it's fully back on to the point to where we think it is. Now, to be fair to the offense, right? Because I don't think the offense deserves a lot of the blame here when it comes to the structure of it and the play calling, because it was 40-degree winds. There was hail. Like it was terrible weather conditions there. I'll be fair on that. Baker Mayfield, I do feel like, look, if you just look at the stat sheets, you're not going to think he had a good game. But if you watch that game, he had a really good game. He was able to do a lot of the things we've been begging Baker Mayfield to do, and this is the second week in a row. Staying patient in zone, he did that. He found some guys. It's just that his receivers weren't able to get there, or not able to get there, my bad. Weren't able to catch the ball. He had 6 drops on the day. If you look at all those drops, those are terrible drops, minus the one at the end of the game to Jarvis Landry, which was a contested catch. I don't think that one should count as a drop. But yeah, David Njoku drop a wide open ball for about 25 yards that would have gotten in the field goal range. It's 3 points. You got Jarvis Landry dropping that touchdown that you have to go to a field goal. That's 7 points there. Well, 4 points there. And then you have a missed field goal because Jedrick Wills false starts on that play, gets it jumped back. You're already going against the win, and you barely miss that field goal opportunity. That's where all those points are. That's where all the points are for the Cleveland Browns that could have won that game there. And that has nothing to do with your quarterback. Your quarterback put the ball in the right places. If you watch the game, he was stepping up in the pocket, making plays there. Nobody wanted to catch the ball on Sunday. And some people were saying, well, maybe it's because Baker throws the ball too hard. I'm sorry. There's 40-degree winds. What do you want him to do? Toss it up? Do you want him to loft it up there so he get picked off in the middle of the field? It's 40-degree football. Like this is some of the lunacy I hear when it comes to the Browns offense. Also, Odell's not out there, and that hurt. That definitely hurt this team because they did well enough on the ground, but they weren't able to consistently get what they needed. Like they'll get like a 15-yard here or there, which made the averages look better. But there were Kareem Hunt would get stopped for 2 yards or 3 yards on first down and second down. You weren't able to get the production that was consistent early on. That's because Odell's not there. That's because they can stack the box. That's because they're not worried about Donovan Peoples-Jones beating them over top, because they shouldn't. He runs a 4-4. If you look on the other side of the ball, one of the reasons the Raiders were able to dominate us on the ground was because we could not play them consistently with more than 7 guys in the box, because we were worried about Henry Ruggs beating us over top. There were a lot of things going on in that game structurally with the defense that just went wrong, and I think the defense is going to get a ton of blame. They deserve a ton of blame, but also the offense needs to step up. We knew this defense stink. Like, did we ever come into this game thinking the defense was all right? Like, I didn't. Honestly, They held them to 16 points on like 8 possessions. Like, that's more than I expected the defense to do. We knew that the Browns had to score 25, 27 points to win games in the NFL because of what that defense is. And also, I don't think the defense should be this bad. I think the defense does not have the excuses that people are willing to give to it, because everybody's pointing to Andrew Sadeo. Oh, that's why the defense is bad. No, you have Myles Garrett and you have Denzel Ward. Those are 2 of the top 15 defenders. Well, top 15 in their position. Myles Garrett's obviously top 2. Denzel Ward's in the top 15 of his position group. You should not be one of the worst defenses in the NFL if you have Myles Garrett on your team. You should not be it. Like, you should find a way to work with it. That's enough to work with. If Pittsburgh had Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward on their team, they would find ways to put pieces around it. Baltimore would do the same. Even Cincinnati has done similar things with Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins throughout the year. So the defensive coordinator and Joe Woods has to do something. They have to make some moves in the trade to try to see if they can make some smaller adjustments here. But the defense is bad. We knew that. But the offensive players need to step up. Now, I will give them this piece of an excuse. If you look at the Browns offense, they're missing Wyatt Teller, who was a top 5 guard when he got injured. You're missing Austin Hooper, who is a top level tight end. I'm not going to say top 5. You're missing Nick Chubb, who's most certainly a top 5 running back. You're missing Odell, who can be a top 5 wide receiver. Those are 4 guys who would usually be one of the better players on the offense that are all out for the Cleveland Browns here. So you're playing with backups, good backups. Harrison Bryant's not a bad player, but you're deep, but you're just playing with rookies, and rookies are going to make these kind of mistakes, right? Harrison Bryant fumbles the ball in the 30, costs the Browns 3 points right there. Inexplicable fumble, by the way. David Njoku, the reason you signed Austin Hooper is because Austin Hooper can catch the ball. David Njoku can't catch the ball consistently. What happens? Big old drop from David Njoku when you need it the most. Jarvis Landry missing that catch there. If that was Odell, he would have got more separation. It wouldn't even have to been that tight to where he had to bobble the ball. These are the realities of all the injuries on this Cleveland Browns offense coming together. Now, you're going to get healthier during the bye week. I'm not sounding the panic bells, but also, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you need to realize, hey, man, you are like one Baker Mayfield to drive away from being 4-4, a very disappointing 4-4, and going into this bye week with people on the hot seat. So don't get too high and mighty because you're 5-3. Like, this is a 5-3 that's all right, but you need to show some more to prove to me that you can actually be a team that's going to belong in the playoffs this year.
Yeah. So before we get too far along, we've got a super chat here from John Cockensberg for $5. Appreciate that, John. He says, Quincy, here's some money for some soap. I know you'll want to take a shower after putting that thing on. Definitely, for sure. And we've got another one here from Trip. $5. He says, tough weather, but the Browns still should have beat my team. Baker played decent, though. That's a plus. Still feels bad for OBJ. One bet a week, high stakes. So let's go ahead and
we're not doing one bet a week.
Shift it over to my man Sonny. Sonny, what were your thoughts on this game?
I mean, this is a game that if you're not a Browns or Raiders fan, you ain't watching this thing. I watched some portion of this game, and it was hard to watch, right? It was very hard to watch. But as I was watching the game, I think this game, Quincy hit it right in the mark. I think the biggest problem was the D-line, and again, I keep pounding with the trenches, but the D-line of the Browns couldn't hold the Raiders and stop that running game. So they ended up controlling the game just by 5 yards here. It wasn't like there was yards being broken for 15, 20, 30, 40, 50.
Not a lot of big plays.
It was like, which is worse because you're dying by 1,000 cuts, right? Now, the thing is, that's why the game was always in reach, because the Raiders couldn't put points more than field goals, right? There was one touchdown, but it was basically field goal. But the time of possession, the 3 yards here, the 4 yards here, the Jacobs basically he carried like insanely amount of times, and he kept pushing like 3 or 4 or 5 yards. In Cleveland, what that does is your defense stays on the field. Like, I will give credit to the defense in the sense that I'm surprised that they didn't give up more points because of the amount of time they were in the field, and the Jacobs was, because that's super frustrating. You're always in third down. You're able to get to the third down, and then they pick it up. So kudos to the defense because they bended it didn't break. But you would think, and I understand the rucks factor that you don't want to get hard or hit over the top by a big play, especially in a game that is close. But I think that was where the game was in, right? Basically, the trenches for the Cleveland Browns couldn't stop that running attack. And again, it wasn't like it was spectacular, but it was good enough, especially in that condition. On the other side, the Raiders, we talk about how bad the Raiders defense was, and what I was hoping at least was what the Raiders did on the running attack. I was hoping the Cleveland was able to do something similar, because we had talked about the O-line being good, and again, the other side is the Raiders were bad, especially against the run. So that was disappointing for me that the offense couldn't produce more rushing for the Cleveland Browns. So essentially for me was that the game ended up, it wasn't Baker. This is not one that you say, well, Baker was, no, this not on Baker. Essentially it was all trenches. I think the Raiders trenches won just by a little bit more than what Cleveland could do. This was what the game was basically close. It was just basically field goal games minus the one touchdown. So I would say this is a game that you get frustrated if you're a Cleveland Browns for losing this game, for losing how you lost. A game that you felt like you were going to win. I think everybody here picked the Browns, I think, right? I know I picked the Browns.
Mm-hmm. I think I said the Browns are the safest bet of the week, I believe is what I said. So I was off on that one.
I talked him off of that one though. Like, I was like, I don't know, Myles Garrett ain't healthy.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I also didn't realize that there was going to be. Yeah, don't pay attention. That's my fiance. We're setting up a troll, and it's failed. It's failed miserably.
Amanda, thank you for that.
Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate that troll there. But with that being said, let's get into Tony's take on this game.
Yeah. So obviously I was high on the Browns going into this game because I thought, with the lack of a pass rush from the Raiders and how opportunistic this Browns team was, I figured, there's gonna be a turnover battle and the Browns get some easy points, as we've seen them do, right? We've seen them win games like this earlier in the year. Of course, you look at that Colts game, right? And the turnovers they were able to generate in that game, or the big one with Phillip Rivers. They just weren't able to do that in this game. The problem for the Browns, right, is you're 5-3 right now. It's not the end of the world. But this game does have some playoff implications, right? First of all, losing silly games like this, games that you went in, you felt like you should win this game, felt like you're the better football team at home, and you lose it. Those are ones at the end of the year. If you miss the game, if you miss the playoffs by a game, boy, you're going to look back at this one and go, that was the silly one. You shouldn't have lost that one. But the other.
Can I add one thing real quick to that point, just to bolster it? By the way, the last time the Browns went 10-6, they lost to the Jamarcus Russell Raiders, and they did not make the playoffs. So
there you go. There you go. Yeah, I remember the Steelers 8-8 one year, and it was they lost to the Raiders in Oakland. AB had a weird fumble. I think Terrell Pryor. I think it was the same game that Terrell Pryor had the long run. Yeah. And they missed the playoffs that year and by one game. Yeah. I mean, listen, you lose to the Raiders. Weird things happen when you're better than the Raiders and you lose to them. You're not looking good for the playoff run. But the other thing is, look, the Raiders may be a sneaky team. We talk about the 7th seed. The Raiders may be a team around there. So the Raiders, may have a tiebreaker here now with the Browns. That's tough. But look, first of all, we can cool it with the OBJ is was bad for the Browns, or this team is better off without him stuff now, right? Didn't it feel like when you watch the game, boy, if they just have one playmaker out there, can make some plays in big moments, you know what I mean? Like one big play that could change the whole game.
Somebody who could stretch the field a little bit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It just felt like, man, if they could just get like one big play, they could turn the momentum of this game. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like maybe they could use that. Obviously, the weather did play. Obviously, weather was a huge factor. It's whatever, 50-mile-an-hour winds or whatever it was. It was going to be a ground and pound type of game, right? And that should have been a Browns win. I mean, the Browns are a team that want to come in there and impose their will on you. And, their offensive line and the running game. I know Nick Chubb is out. You said Wyatt Teller's out. I get it. The problem I have with this game is like the Raiders were the ones that imposed their will, right? I mean, this was like an identity theft. You need to call LifeLock if you're the Cleveland Browns because they just stole your identity in this game. 200 yards of rushing for the Raiders. 38 minutes of time of possession for the Raiders, 6 meaningful drives, 5 of them with 10 plus plays. So, boy, I come out of this game thinking about this game and the Steelers game for the Browns. I'm going to say a word here. I know it's not going to make Quincy happy. I know Browns fans are going to be mad, but are the Browns soft, right? I mean, like, they don't respond well to getting punched in the mouth. We know that, right? The Steelers came in and said, hey, you're going to come in and punch. No. We will punch you in the mouth. We will see how you respond. Raiders just did the same thing. Maybe soft is not the right word, but like, they're like fake tough guys in my mind right now, right? When
it's like every time it's either one or two things happen with the Cleveland Browns, and I think I'm going to agree with you somewhat on this.
Yeah.
It's either they come out and they're able to play that physical brand of football, or they're completely absent of it.
Right.
It's never in between. It's never a hard-fought, tough loss. It's always they come out and they play like absolute garbage, or they come out and they win. And that is a massive, massive issue that they need to work on, or it's going to be something that's going to define this season.
Yeah. Let me add something real here too. Yeah. I think something that I didn't think it was going to be that big of a loss was Nick Chubb. Meaning, I knew Nick Chubb was a beast, and they were going to take a hit back. But with Kareem Hunt there, I thought, you know what, that's also an elite back. But I feel like this running attack was still good. But when it was Chubb and Hunt, it was elite. Now it's just a good running attack. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I feel like when Chubb was there, and I think it's because Chubb is such a physical runner as well. Going back what Tony was saying, he is able to punish and impose in the running attack their will with those two. And I feel like that is missing now.
Yeah, well, the thing with Nick Chubb is that Nick Chubb, like Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb break a similar amount of tackles, but the type of tackles they break are completely different. Nick Chubb is somebody who can like legitimately break an arm tackle from a defensive lineman, or like shake that off, or not really get stunted there, and then he can accelerate to a higher top speed than Kareem Hunt has. And there were a couple opportunities where I was watching the game and Kareem Hunt got 5 yards. I was like, Nick would have got like 40 on that run because there was nobody there. He kind of got tripped up, and Nick just doesn't get taken down there. So it is a difference there, right? I think also the biggest factor to not having Nick Chubb is one, and Wyatt Teller as well. One, when you don't have Wyatt Teller, you're eligible receiver, right? The Pittsburgh uses this, the Browns uses this a lot.
Yeah.
He's on the field. Chris Hubbard's on the field. You don't have an extra tackle or extra guard to really put out there. So you're putting your third tight end, and now it's really your fourth tight end with Austin Hooper hurt, and he's just getting blown up a lot. That's one of the things that's happening with the run game. Also, the other thing that's happening is that you're not wearing teams out anymore, right? Because Dearness Johnson just ain't a starting level running back. Right. So they're just giving them a steady dose of regular running back. When you have Hunt and Chubb, what we saw in the Bengals game in week 2 that happened was it's so exhausting to tackle those two guys for that long in a football game that you might have decent run defense at the beginning, but by the fourth quarter, you're tired of tackling them. And that ultimately becomes a big factor here.
Yeah, definitely. Before we move on and I give my synopsis on this game, we have 124 people watching live now. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We truly appreciate that. Super chats are also open. But what I will say about this game, I think in some aspects, yes, the Browns may be soft. One area that they weren't, to me, being a team that has lost to them twice, that offensive line was nasty. Like, I saw them go to the second level and just maul guys. And like Sonny said, you haven't seen the same kind of rushing attack since Nick Chubb was there. And I think I've been saying that for a few weeks now. They slowly have gone from the top running team in the NFL, a very physical team that was their identity, to kind of struggle in the past couple of weeks. And when I say struggle, I mean for a team that was number one at one point, and it just seemed like they were unstoppable. And in the NFL, no matter what it is, you still have to have talented players. These guys are talented for a reason. When you have a guy like Kareem Hunt paired with a Nick Chubb, that is unstoppable. And when you lose that and you have Dearness Johnson isn't Nick Chubb. Like, it's just plain as day, he's not Nick Chubb. When you talk about the receivers, Quincy talked about this as well, and that's why I said you always need a guy like OBJ, no matter what, because when the defense goes against your receivers, they're going to focus on OBJ. Whether you feel like he's a fit for the Browns or not, no defensive coordinator in the NFL is going to be like, oh, we don't have to worry about OBJ because he's not good with Baker. That is not the case at all. So not having him on the field definitely contributes to it being an easier game plan to stop the Browns. And one thing that we saw last game is it kind of caught the Bengals off guard, but the Raiders were prepared for it. You talk about Jarvis Landry. Obviously, you have to key in on him. But what did they get outside of that? I really expected Rashard Higgins to really step it up here. I really expected him to be the guy that would have that connection with Baker Mayfield, and he just wasn't there. And then when you talk about the tight ends, you're also missing Austin Hooper. Like, these are big pieces of the Browns offense. Like, that's like saying, okay, let me take Joe Mixon, AJ Green, and someone else off of the Bengals and just expect these other guys to just come in and do that. The Browns can't do that. So they're obviously going to have to get, like Quincy said on the game or on the video leading up to this, the Browns need to go and get another playmaker. You can't put all of that on Jarvis Landry itself. Jarvis Landry, one of my favorite receivers since he was in Miami, not a guy that scores many touchdowns. So you're going to have to get that from somewhere else. David Njoku, I was kind of looking suspect at that drop that he had. And I'm like, is this guy just burnt out and was doing that on purpose, or did he just drop the pass? Like, I know that he's been requesting a trade. I looked at that play kind of shaky, and I was like, all right, dude, like, how did you not haul that in?
To David's credit, he does that a lot. That's just David Njoku's thing. Like, he'll catch, like, to be fair, here's David, and like, I don't know if you guys remember Braylon Edwards, but David Njoku's pretty much the same guy where he can catch some amazing passes. He'll do like that catch he got against Cincinnati. He'll do that with ease. But like, if you just give him a wide open ball for him to catch and run down, he'll always mess that up. Like, that's just David Njoku, to be fair. Like, that's why I have never been like the biggest David Njoku guy in the world.
Gotcha.
He's not reliable in that sense.
No, I'm glad you cleared that up because especially with the stories floating around right now, you just don't know. But I'm glad to know that wasn't the case. But the Browns, I think I think it was Tony, it was identity theft. Like you said, for a Las Vegas team, a place where it's 90 degrees at night, they should not be able to play in the condition and the weather conditions. That should have played into Cleveland's hands. And I think at the point where Cleveland was down and they had that weird play where I thought it was a Jarvis Landry touchdown, but apparently it wasn't. I don't know what happened on the replay when I tried to watch that. But it should have played into the Browns' hands, and it did it. And the Raiders took advantage, and they were able to get this win over the Browns. And, I think the Browns are going to have to at least consider making a move here to bring another weapon in there to help Baker Mayfield in this offense. Baker did come a little bit back down to earth, but I agree with Quincy. He wasn't a guy that threw any turnovers or did anything for them to lose the game. Just didn't really get much help there. But since we are running on time, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this matchup. Let's talk about the Ravens and the Browns. The super chats are open if you guys want to start trolling people. Ravens and Steelers.
You said Ravens and Steelers. Yeah,
oh my goodness. I was thinking about Quincy. My bad. So Ravens and Steelers, and we will give the floor to Sonny.
Okay, this was a tough game to watch for as a Ravens fan because I'm gonna say this, and my Steelers guys that are here are gonna hate what I'm gonna say. Baltimore played the better game, minus one player, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson gave this game away. Look, the reality is the game in the first half was 17-7. It was a 7 points just at a pick six. That it wasn't that Spillane made a hell of a pick. It was that horrible throw. Now, Spillane made the catch. I'm just saying it was a horrible throw. Before we started, I said there was 3 turnovers in this game. One was a great play by Dupree. Bud made a great play. Lamar held it a little bit long, but Bud made that play. The 2 picks, and should have been a 3rd pick, they were all bad throws by Lamar. He had the one on Spillane there. The second one, which was, in my opinion, the one that changed completely the momentum. He had the fullback on the flat. He got greedy. He went over the fullback through, I forgot the receiver who was there. An easy pick for Highsmith. And then
that Mark Andrews he was throwing to.
Okay. And then Hayden should have had a pick because Boykins was running. And if he throws Boykins in stride, that's a catch. First down. I don't remember if there was a safety over the top, but at least it was a first down. He throws it behind. Well, Boykins' momentum is carrying him forward. There's no way he can reach back. And Hayden, that was almost a pick, but not right a pick, but it should have been a pick, and that would have been 3. right? Lamar's usually fairly good on just not turning the ball over on picks, but was not the case in this game. First quarter, Ravens go and lose left tackle, right guard. Judon gets thrown out. I think it should have been a personal foul or whatever, a 15-yard. Throwing Judon out, I thought it was a stretch. I thought it was bad for the officials. He's getting restrained. He's just trying to shake the guy off. He hits the official. It wasn't like he was trying to punch the official. Again, I'm okay with the penalty. I thought it was not okay. I was not okay with throwing him out. But this defense came and ball out. They held Ben. They held the receivers. The running backs really wasn't a factor. The only reason that this defense, look, the Steelers get the ball in the second half, right? First possession in the second half, and I'm like, this possession will tell a lot. We're winning by 10. If the Steelers come down and drive the ball and score a touchdown, look, we're going to have a game here. It's going to be tight. Ravens defense stop the Steelers. We get the ball. What happens? Lamar Jackson throws a pick. And after that, it completely changed the momentum. The Steelers now in the red zone, score a touchdown, 17-14. We go in, 3 and out, or maybe not 3 and out.
It's 3 and out. Yeah, no, it's 3 and out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the Steelers come back and another touchdown. And you can feel the momentum change, right? The Ravens, once Stanley goes out, they changed how they were calling the game. They ran heavy. And they were running heavy, and they were having success on the Steelers. By the first half, we were rushing, $150.
154.
The third quarter, the play calling changed. I don't know what mentally Giro was doing, and he decided, you know what? We had $154 in the first half. Let's just try to throw a little bit. Let's just try to throw. And the offense didn't move. The offense did not move. Fourth quarter, they went back to running. They were moving. Obviously, they fell short at the end of the game. Kudos to the Steelers. They did just enough to win this game. I do think a couple of things. I think the Baltimore defense played better than the Steelers defense, although the turnovers will tell you that the Steelers defense played better. But no, I think the Ravens played better. But this loss, this L, in my opinion, is completely on Lamar Jackson's shoulders. Lamar just gave this game away.
All right. So before we get into some of the other comments, I'm just going to run through some super chats here. We have one from Harry Holland for $5. He says Steelers defense A, Ravens defense A+, Steelers offense B, Ravens offense C-, Steelers coaching B, Ravens coaching D. Lamar gifted the game. Let's
what's shocking to me.
Before you go,
I would love more analyst study, please.
No. All I'm gonna say is Ravens fans are losing their mind with coaching. I don't understand this.
You just went off about play calling.
I said on one quarter. I didn't say the whole game. I said that there was one quarter. Then the offensive coordinator tried to change how they were. Literally, they went to throw more instead of just trying to keep pounding with a bad O-line.
What game did you watch? Did you and I watch the same game? I don't know if you know this. Okay, but the Ravens ran the ball. What was it? Like 47 times in this game? What do you want them to run the ball? 70 times? I mean, you know that Lamar Jackson is a quarterback, and quarterbacks throw the football. I don't know if you know this about the National Football League. Maybe Ravens fans forgot because Lamar Jackson is their quarterback. Quarterbacks throw the football, okay? Yes. So when you have a quarterback, he's going to be asked to throw the football from time to time. If he throws 4 or 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles, that's on Lamar Jackson, not the play caller for saying, hey, Lamar Jackson, you're a quarterback. You have to throw.
No.
I just don't get it.
I understand, but the problem here is you're running the ball well. On Thursday, I said the problem here with the Ravens is the interior O-line is soft, right? Didn't I say that? I said the interior O-line is soft. I'm worried about the interior O-line and the pressure getting on Lamar. Then your best asset in that O-line, which is the left tackle, you lose the left tackle. Now you also have a backup right guard. You have to move your right tackle to the left side.
I mean, we can talk injuries all day, Sonny, but I don't know if you know this about the Steelers. Tyson Alualu played about 6 snaps in this game. He's a great nose tackle. Only nose tackle graded better than PFF Aaron Donald right now. They were without Devin Bush. They're without Mike Hilton. I mean, we could do injury for injury if you want. Injuries played a role in this game. No doubt about it. Okay. But I'm tired. Hold on a second. Because I'm tired of This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm tired of hearing about Lamar Jackson can't throw. And yet when everyone goes, we can't call him. Look, you know who's calling Lamar Jackson a running back? Ravens fans. Ravens fans call Lamar Jackson a running back. That's who it is. Because every time they try to throw the football, Ravens fans throw their hands up in the air and go, Greg Roman, it's Greg Roman, it's Greg Roman. Lamar Jackson has to be asked sometimes to throw the football. Well, here's the problem with Lamar Jackson, okay? In the biggest moments, he comes up the smallest. And the sample size is too large now to deny this, okay? I said this after the Chargers game, and everybody got on me, oh, no, Tony, it's too early. Look, if you guys want to go back, and Ravens fans, you can live on that Patriots game. Live on it, dream on it, because that's the only time Lamar Jackson's ever come up big in his entire career in a big moment. Once again, we see Lamar Jackson in a big game, and he comes up as small as possible. The 4 turnovers in this game are all on plays where it was completely fine for them to throw the football in those moments. What I don't understand is why.
I got hot.
I was going to say, are you guys going to fight virtually?
I got hot. Yeah.
That was one night you fly into Orlando. No. Okay, look, here's the thing. Okay, the first pass is a third down. Okay, it's a terrible throw by Lamar, but there's no coaching staff problem there, right?
No, I didn't say that was a coaching problem.
Right. The second one is a strip sack on 2nd and goal from the 8. 95% of teams would throw there. Lamar just has to be better.
I didn't say that was a problem either.
Right. The third interception to Highsmith, he just doesn't see Highsmith, right? These problems are not the coaching staff. Lamar Jackson is a quarterback. He has to throw the football. Now, you're absolutely right about this. The Ravens should have won this game by like 100, okay? They killed the Steelers when it came to running the football. I didn't think the Ravens would have, no Steeler fan thought the Ravens would have this amount of success running the football, okay? But thank you, Lamar Jackson, for again coming up big in the big moments. Look, we didn't get to celebrate Halloween this year, right? We didn't get to because everything going on in the world. But you know what? Lamar Jackson was in the Halloween spirit. He dressed up as Baker Mayfield on Sunday.
I knew you were going to.
And listen, he did a great Baker Mayfield impression, didn't he? He was perfect. He was absolutely stunning. He was stunning. Okay, and the other thing I want to talk about, hold on. The other thing I want to talk about is the second half of this game because the Ravens defense was so good. In the second half of this football game, Ben Roethlisberger, who at halftime had 24 yards passing. Ben Roethlisberger in the second half of this game, what happened? I'll tell you what happened. They finally did the thing I've been asking them to do. This Steeler offense, what do they need to do? What does this offense need to do? I'll tell you what they needed to do. They got to let Ben cook, okay? Let Ben cook. How many times have I been telling you guys that once Chef Ben takes over, this thing is done. It's done. Okay, 7-0. Because why? Because Ben Roethlisberger in the second half, when he went 5 wide, okay, he was 17 of 22 for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is the Ben Roethlisberger that everybody said, oh, no, he can't play, elbow injury. This is the best secondary in the league. He spread them out. He said, declare your blitzers, declare your coverage, because every play, I'm picking you apart. And he did it the entire second half. Ben Roethlisberger is as much a part of this game, much part of this win, as Lamar Jackson was. Now, I'll agree, the Ravens should have won, and Lamar Jackson gave it away. But don't take anything away from what Ben Roethlisberger did in the second half of this game, because the offense finally let Ben cook, and he came through.
There was 2 drives. There was 2 really good drives by Big Ben. And they would hurry up, spread out, and then Big Ben, let me just quote as Tony's saying here. Tony, he cooked. Now, what I'm saying is, which this is where I'm going to disagree with Tony. I'm not saying Lamar Jackson cannot throw. That did not come from my mouth. What I'm saying is, if something is working, why are you going to move away from that? If running the ball is working, why move away from that? Especially when in this game, as we call it, the Steelers have one of the best pass rushers in the league. Right? We say the Steelers D-line, they lead the league in sacks. They want to have one of the best passes. So in normal circumstances, that quarterback is going to get pressure. Now, without your left tackle and your right guard, that you expect the pressure to be upped a bit. But you're running successfully. So why?
But he's MVP. I mean, these guys are reigning MVP.
Tony, I'm not saying that the interception was on coaching, right? I said that was a bad throw. I didn't say that the second interception was on the coaching. That was a bad throw. I said there was a third one that should have been an interception, and it was a bad throw. My only point with coaching here, and I gave you that the fumble was a great play by the defense, right? And that was the one that I said, like, this was not necessarily on Lamar. That was a great play by the defense. My problem with the coaching was in that third quarter. After Lamar throws that pick, and now it's a 3-point game, they should have come and said, okay, we just put them 154. Let's come and run down their throat. Let's control this game again, and let's just time of possession. That's what we did last year. That's literally what the Ravens did last year. Time of possession. We ran so much, and then came out and throw for easy completions.
Oh, I'm not happy
so
that
let me let's take a little intermission here. I got some super chats to run through real quick. So let's start with Joanne Clark. She says, love the chat. Ace is very good, unbiased analyst, and Tony as well. Thanks for all your
I wasn't unbiased for the last 10 minutes, but other than that.
Appreciate that, Joanne. We've got Billy Williams, $4.99. Ravens coaching a D. They literally doubled the Steelers' yards. They ran over the defense that stopped every team that tried to run over them. Yeah. We've got some other ones here. Let's see.
There was one from the Trib.
The Trib has one. Lamar made a bad read, threw a bad ball in the first one. It's farther down, yeah.
All right. The Trib, appreciate that, bro, for $10. Lamar made a bad read and threw a bad ball for the first one. The fumble was tough. The second pick was a great play by the backer. Lamar lost them the game. Without Lamar, they wouldn't be in the game. The next one.
That is a good point, because with this running game doesn't work without Lamar being Lamar, right? So it is a catch-22 for the Ravens, which is that fair. You can't run this well because of everything that he does at the mesh point if you don't have Lamar. But then all the bad parts of Lamar came out in this game, and that's why if I'm a Raven coaching staff right now, I don't know how I'm fixing this in these big moments.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys are watching this, you just saw Tony put on a chef hat and say, let Ben cook. So not only are you going to get great analysis here, you're going to get comedy. You're going to get guys going at each other. So if you are watching this right now and you are not subscribed, you need to make sure that you do right now and give this video a like so we can see more crazy stuff like that happen throughout the season. But another one,
prop department here.
Remember, Sonny had the chain. Sonny had the chain. I had to get.
Sonny
I had to
did have the chain.
The chain is hidden right now.
The chain is up. The chain was snatched by that Steelers team.
So what the Trip is saying here, something I want to bring, but since he brought in the super chat, you can read that.
Okay, so we got to get to Billy Williams here. $4.99. He says that he asked about Ben spreading it out on Thursday. That is what I was worried about, given the cornerback depth wasn't there.
That is true.
Yeah. That hurt. Who was the guy 38 or whatever who got
it's a practice squad guy got elevated for this game. And in that time where he was spreading the guys, all Ben was doing was, where's 38? Oh, 38 is there. That's where I'm going. 38.
I mean,
all right, so Matty Bond, $5 super chat here. He says, come on, Tony. I was with you until you had to drag Baker Mayfield into this. And this is $5 for Sony to buy some sleeves.
Hey,
$10 from my guy to Trib. He says, Seahawks, Patriots, 49ers last year were big games. Rams were a big one, too.
Yeah, Rams
not competitive. Lamar, better than all but 5 quarterbacks in the league. He doesn't have top 5 offensive talent around him. Call short plays.
Okay, so
hold on. Let me just get this last one. All right, Lola Jones for $3. Steelers are sweeping the Ravens this year. So go ahead and respond to that one, guys.
Oh, are we sure? I mean, listen, the division is over at this point.
Hold on, wait. Yeah. Okay, one. Real quick, Steelers are going to go 14-3.
14-2.
14-3. I said what I said.
Okay.
14-3.
We got a new one. We want to bet for this one. We'll make it a Jersey time.
Surmise that how you want. They're going to go 14-3. All right, but Tony does bring up a good point there. I want to address the Trib here, where he's saying now Lamar is helpless. He doesn't have any talent around him. Come on. Can we just say that Lamar Jackson has some serious flaws when it comes to hitting the outside edges of the field as a passer from the pocket? Can we just accept that? That's the truth with him. We've been saying he's going to improve. And since he's had so much improvement from his first year to his second year, we just thought, hey, his second year to his third year, he's going to fix that. It's not happening. He's not accurate down the field like that. It's just not there for him. He's a guy who's comfortable hitting the middle of his field. They made a mistake at the beginning of the season, and this is where I felt like they were going to have a little bit of a road bump when they decided to go with less tight ends, when they decided to de-emphasize how important these tight ends were to the Ravens offense. If you want to talk about coaching, it's personnel at the beginning of the season. Why did they have Picard as their third tight end when he's also the fullback? That was not a great decision there.
Trading Hurst
as well. And the truth is Lamar Jackson feels more comfortable hitting his tight ends. You need to make sure your tight ends are as good as possible to get the most out of Lamar. They thought in their head, hey, we're going to expand this. We're going to have Lamar develop. He's going to start hitting Boo Brown on the outside. We're going to start doing these things. These guys are going to develop. We got young guys, and it's going to happen for us. But now you got Des Bryant on your practice squad, Tyreek 3 yards, and guess what? You're still relying on Willie Snead to carry this team receiving when it comes to receiving production. He's still the most reliable guy. Willie Snead, who might be the fourth receiver on some of the wide receiving cores in the AFC North. You're still there. Eric DeCosta deserves a lot of credit because he's done a lot of great things, but the biggest blind spot he's had is where Lamar's strengths are and where they aren't. And where they obviously aren't down the field, aren't in a great X receiver, aren't in finding these guys to try to stretch the field out. I get philosophically why they would want to do that, but Lamar just don't do that stuff well. Maybe in 4 or 5 years down the line, he develops into that. But right now, you got to take what he does well and squeeze that juice out of him. I say the same thing with Baker Mayfield. Stop trying to make him something he's not. Stop trying to do these things with Baker that he doesn't do well, obviously, and just put him in the best position. He's still a third-year quarterback. Lamar is still a third-year quarterback with third-year quarterback flaws, and that's what showed up this week. He played against a good defense, a defense that confused him. He made some terrible mistakes. He threw some interceptions at inopportune times, and he cost you this game. He has the lowest PFF grade out of anybody on the Baltimore Ravens, and it ain't like Hollywood Brown out here saving him because he had 50 on PFF. So another terrible game. I get he had a touchdown, but he had 3 yards, 1 reception, 2 targets, and he got the nerve, by the way, to tweet after the game, hey, yeah, why you ain't trying to use all your soldiers if you're paid in full quote. All right, Marquise, you know what I think is funny? Why are you out there? How are you this fast and can't get open? How are you this quick and can't get open? How are you better playing with a screw in your foot than you were without it? Everybody told me about that screw in Marquise Brown's foot was going to make him an elite wide receiver. This looks like the same old Marquise Brown to me, right? The guy who might show up every once in a while, 4th or 5th in yards on his own team where he's supposed to be the number 1 wide receiver. They got to figure out a way to get better wide receivers in Baltimore. They should have made a trade in the offseason. There were a ton of guys available. This is the best wide receiver draft in recent history. They did not get a single guy. So that's all on Baltimore. If they were going to try to do this thing with Lamar, they could have set him up better, so they could have got better wide receivers. So I don't want to put it all on Lamar, but it's also, hey, you got to do what Lamar does best, and Lamar hits his tight ends the best. Lamar kills the middle of the field the best. When you give him targets and options there, he absolutely is a killer from the pocket. But when you don't, you leave this game susceptible, you make them more one-dimensional, and you hurt the team. So they need to figure that out. Now, I see people in the chat saying some crazy stuff like Baker over Lamar. Let's chill. Lamar did win the MVP last year. There is a limit to how bad Lamar could be, even if he is one-dimensional.
Are we talking about a big game or like a normal game? Because in a big game, maybe.
Now, that's another thing I want to touch on. That's real now. I said it last week. I don't know how real it was, but this would be a test. Another home game. What's the? Yeah, this is the 4th home game in a row. Well, this is 4 home games, right? He was home against the Chargers, blew that one. Now he was just rookie year. I'm not going to be too tough on that one. The game against the Titans was a little bit more inexplicable, but again, it's not enough to create, a legitimate pattern. But then you blow it against the Chiefs, and he looks as bad as he did against the Chiefs there. Then you blow it against the Steelers here, and legitimately, he blew it. This wasn't just, hey, things went bad. You could blame it on multiple things. Maybe no, Lamar blew it. Blew it. If he doesn't throw those interceptions, you win this game. So I think it is a real pattern that that we should start looking at seriously. If he loses in the playoffs again, then obviously it's going to be bigger. But hey, I got news for him. They're not going to have a home playoff game this year. Pittsburgh's running away with the division, and that is what it is. It's a battle for the 5th and 4th seed. They're down here with Cleveland. Hey, you battling with the wild card with us because that's what it is. Now, look, also, the Chiefs had a down year last year after their quarterback won the MVP. They ended up winning the Super Bowl. So it's not the end of the world for Ravens fans. But these are some legitimate problems that if Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman are serious about winning it all this year, they ought to figure out how they're going to fix it. And I just don't know if there's a plethora of solutions available because it is what it is with those issues. Like, you can't really do anything to fix it unless you're going to upgrade from Lamar, which is a ridiculous ideal to even have.
Yeah, you can't. And look, think about all the positives going for Lamar in this game. This is a Ravens team coming off of their bye week, right? So he had a year or a week to rest, a week to diagnose what the Steelers were going to do to defend against him, and he had a running game that, as we talked about, I mean, they went off in this game. And the running game, that, just the act of handing the ball off in this game automatically got the Ravens 5 yards. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, Lamar had every chance to be successful. Everything you wanted around him to be successful was there. And yet he still couldn't. And by the way, it wasn't just that he was bad throwing the football. Look, think about that last drive. The Ravens are driving down. It's what is it? It's a 4-point lead for the Steelers. The Ravens started their own 25-yard line. They ran the ball every single play on that. They took the ball out of Lamar's hands. They said, look, we're just going to run the ball down the Steelers' throat. And it worked right up until they got into 3rd and 5. And then they tried to run 2 plays for Lamar. I think the first one was probably a pass, and he elected to run. But the second one was definitely a spread him out QB draw. He couldn't get 5 yards in 2 plays. This is Lamar Jackson, the best player with his hands on the football running in the league, and he can't get 5 yards. And by the way, not only did he not get the first down on 4th down, he fumbled to go with it. I mean, this was a bad game from Lamar overall.
All right, so my thoughts on this game. Several things that really stuck out to me. This game definitely was not a good performance from Lamar Jackson. I think we've all talked about that here. It wasn't the worst performance from him that we've seen. He's really put together a string of not the best performances. Coming from a Bengals fan, I know obviously they blew us out. It seemed like, and if you were watching that game as a Bengals fan, this just seemed like the kind of game that Lamar Jackson had against us. It's just guys didn't drop the interceptions. And when it comes to that, I talk about the Steelers were able to get that. But think about this. This was the worst game that Lamar Jackson had. He had, 3 turnovers in this game? They were still about to possibly have a chance, or 4 turnovers in this game. At the end of the game, they were still there, right? If that receiver makes that catch and they score at the end of the game, the Ravens possibly win the game, right? They were still in a position to actually win this game. This wasn't a game where it was a blowout. It was over. You have to talk about the Steelers only having 7 points in the first half, right? And that's that pick 6.
Right.
The Steelers offense didn't score. They didn't play great in this game. We also talk about the Ravens rushing offense. And early on, I kind of criticized it, saying that it was basically running off of Lamar and kind of inflated based off of Lamar. Gus Edwards needs to play more. And I told Sonny this before the show. Obviously, you love Mark Ingram and stuff like that. No issue with Mark Ingram at all. But J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards were clearly the tandem that you guys should be using in this game. Now, Lamar Jackson turns the ball over. That is true. I can't put it on anything else outside of that. He had, as Tony said, a bye week to sit down and get this thing figured out. He had, it seemed like he didn't have an injury. He ran 16 times for 65 yards. Didn't seem like it was a knee injury or anything like that. I think another thing is Lamar has won the MVP, but the narrative has always been he's a running back. Anytime he gets a chance, he says, not bad for a running back. And I'm a guy that's a Lamar Jackson fan. I've watched him since Louisville and stuff like that. I think what he's trying to do is turn himself into a passer and not have to rely on his running game. And that's essentially what makes him so dangerous. And I think what Quincy said is definitely true. You have to have that tight end. When you talk about Mike Vick, when you talk about Lamar Jackson, they both depend on those tight ends. Guys are pretty much king and taking Mark Andrews away. Mark Andrews hasn't lived up to that billing that he had coming into the season. We all thought, especially if you play fantasy football, Mark Andrews was going to be a top 5 tight end.
Top 3 guy, yeah.
People were saying that he was Travis Kelce. He has not lived up to it this season, and that's not to take any blame away from Lamar or anything like that. He just hasn't been that guy to be there, and I don't know if it's the fact that defenses are just keying in on him and just taking him away and making Lamar go to these other receivers. The other thing is, yes, Snead had a very solid game, and he's a solid receiver. You can go to him in the clutch, but you cannot rely on him. Devin Duvernay, 1 catch for 39 yards. You guys drafted him for a reason. He has to get more snaps. He has to be more of a part of this game. If you're not going to go out and make a move for these other receivers, you got to give Devin Duvernay at least a look. A lot of people like Devin Duvernay coming into the draft. He was a steal for the Ravens. I'm not sure why he's not playing. You got to give him some more options there. When you look at the rest of they spread you guys out, being that the Baltimore Ravens have a strong secondary. Ben basically just said, we're going to go empty, and we're going to look at whichever guy is open, we're going to him. They didn't try to force it towards Marlon Humphrey or any of those strong Ravens defenders. They took their chances, and that's what they did. Essentially, that's what they did. They just, all right, this guy's open, 5-6. All right, this guy's open. And then they even took advantage of using their tight end in this game as well, because the Steelers are loaded at the receiver position. I talk about my Bengals all the time, and I still feel like they're, possibly the top receiving group of this division, but the Steelers aren't far off. And they have so many receivers there that was a smart game plan for them to go into this game with, was spreading those Ravens out, especially also with Jimmy Smith fighting an Achilles injury. He's not 100% right now. So what they did was they stretched him out and they took advantage of it. The other thing was I said that the Ravens would have to force Big Ben to throw an interception and have a bad game. Unfortunately, that was last week. Ben protected the ball this week. When you turn the ball over, you can't expect to win the game. But this isn't something that the Ravens have to panic about. You had 4 turnovers, right? You only lost the game by 4 points. If you don't have those turnovers, you literally could have won this game, and you were still in the game. So not to take any credit away from the Steelers or anything like that, but I think people are saying the sky is falling, Lamar Jackson can't win big games and this and that. Look, I had Andy Dalton as my quarterback against the Browns, and it was one of the worst Thursday night football games in history.
Everybody just
right now have Lamar Jackson throw for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's what he said.
For that to be the worst game. If you don't want to know what I'm talking about, do a quick Google search and look at the very bad, terrible Andy Dalton game, and then come back to me when you talk about bad quarterback games. But for the Lamar standard, a former MVP, yes, it was a bad game. I'm not trying to take anything away from Lamar Jackson. This loss is definitely on him because he had the 4 turnovers. So it was something that he was responsible for. But before I keep going, let me go ahead and get into some of these super chats here. We got the Trib one for $10 that says, I said not top 5, top 15 for sure, but rank his talent versus the Chiefs, 49ers, Seahawks, Vikings, Browns, Chargers, and more. Take away the
Browns.
Is their best
the Browns?
unit, and it's
the Vikings, the Browns, the Chargers. Like, come on,
right? But okay, yeah. I mean, look, you can argue some of that stuff, and like maybe some of that's even true. But again, that's on the general manager for not understanding where the weakness is in the offense.
By the way, how many wide receivers are available this year? How many big time? Stephon Diggs is out here in Buffalo for nothing. What? Nuke's out there.
Remember when we asked, should the Ravens sign AB? And Sonny was like, no, we don't want it.
No, you don't want AB.
I would have signed it.
This is not even about like
this
the
is where
guys
I'll
like
agree with
AB.
Sonny. Sonny doesn't want AB. Sonny, you're right to not want AB. Don't want AB.
You heard just Hollywood right now hinting because he didn't get enough the ball. Imagine AB not getting the ball. He will destroy this locker room.
I don't think you could do that, though. I don't think.
Hold on. Have you guys heard this?
You sign AB and not give him the ball, though. In that offense, like, there's no way that you're like, oh no, we're not going to throw.
Hold on, wait.
Like,
before we
AB's going to get targets
conversation
in a offense with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Like, if they can make it work, the Ravens definitely could have made it work.
But here's the thing that I think people need to kind of talk about when it comes to Lamar Jackson. What type of wide receiver works with Lamar Jackson? That's the real question here.
Right. What wide receiver wants to play with Lamar Jackson? This is what someone tweeted the other day when they said, look, the Ravens have to draft because free agents don't want to go there because of the offense that they play.
That is true.
That's tough.
Well,
see, that's tough.
I even think if you can get a more physical, like Anquan Bolton, like I think Nuke would have worked out great with Lamar because Lamar's not like a downfield killer. Like if you get him somebody like Odell, he's not really going to cook with him like you want him to. Baker's having issues cooking with him because Odell is somebody who requires a lot of structure and a lot of like a quarterback who thinks by the book to get him the ball when he needs to. When it comes to Lamar needs somebody who can improvise. Lamar needs somebody who's going to be able to get some yak. You know, Lamar, that's what Lamar needs. That's what you could put around him. Lamar needs a wide receiver that kind of functions more like a tight end. That's who he likes to get. And my issue with the Ravens and how they've gone about this is that they haven't gone about it in a way of thinking, what works with Lamar, what works within Lamar's limitations. They've always gone about it as if Lamar has unlimited potential, as if, he could eventually do the things that Patrick Mahomes does, which where drafting a Marquise Brown makes sense. But since he's not that guy, since he's not that accurate downfield, you need to think about this in a different way. And if they do that, and they will do this. They probably will do this offseason, and they'll be a fantastic team next year. But this year they made some severe structural flaws with the offense and the structure of it, where they decided they were going to go all in on the unlimited potential of Lamar as a passer. They were going to go all in on these deep threats at wide receiver, these fast guys. And they were going to go all in on that and kind of hedge the bet off of these tight ends. And now they're kind of reaping what they sow.
Yeah, definitely. So
at 5-2, at 5-2.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the season's over for them. They still have an outside chance of the division if the Steelers were to slip up and they could win in Hines. They're still a top team. And look, it's weird. If I'm looking at this from the Ravens' perspective, I don't know whether to be happy or devastated after this game. It's probably a little of both. You can be happy that, yes, you should have won that game. You dominated the Steelers' defense. They ran the ball at will against the best defense in the league. They had such a chance to win even after Lamar played such a bad game. But boy, with everything going for you, that was the home game, right? That was the one coming off of a bye week. The next time the Ravens play the Steelers, it'll be on a short week right after the Ravens play against the Tennessee Titans, and I believe the Steelers will play against the Jaguars. Okay, so this was the best chance for the Ravens. It's an uphill battle from here. They can feel good that they played so well on outside of Lamar. But boy, you got to figure: are we really going to play that well again in Hines? Are we going to shut down Ben in the first half again? Are we going to run the ball that effectively again? And on top of all of that, even if we do all of that again, what Lamar are we getting this time on the road on a short week?
Right. No, I totally agree. And not to take anything away from the Steelers, I don't want you guys to feel like it just was anytime you have turnovers of that nature, it should be a blowout or something like that. And
it should have been a blowout. I felt like it was going to be a blowout at halftime.
One thing that we've seen and has been a continuing theme is the Steelers just figure out how to stay in these games and win. Yeah. And that's what they've done. They continue to do it. Right now, undefeated right now. Let me get into some of these super chats. Harry Holland, the Ravens need to talk to Bobby Petrino and Lonnie Galloway from Louisville and figure out what Lamar does well, because what Greg Roman is calling is crap. Now, I'm going to say this, Ravens fans.
Come on.
Greg Roman was just getting praised last year. Okay,
I agree.
All parties got to get on the same page there, because Greg Roman definitely has had some experience and has had some success with different players for sure. The Trib says, appreciate that, Trib. I said Lamar lost the game. This is one of maybe 3 that he's been the main reason. He's played around 30 games. Is it possible to trade for a number 1? And I'm assuming he's saying a number one receiver there.
Yeah.
Unless you go after Alshon Jeffrey, maybe that's a weird situation that's going on in Philly. I don't even know if you really want him, but
the only player that I said is a good fit. I tweeted this the other day. So the Ravens tried to trade for D-Hop, right? Yeah. And they said that Houston basically didn't want to trade in the AFC. That's why they shipped it to Arizona. Yeah. And then they tried this year to move up in the draft to get CeeDee Lamb. I think they were talking to the Raiders at pick 18 or 19, and he got drafted at 17. The only guy that I can see the Ravens, and I think this will be a good fit, because I actually agree with Q. If you have been following me in my channel, I've been saying we need an Anquan Boldin type of receiver, a 50-50 guy, a physical guy. This guy is the only one that I think it might be there in the trading block, and it's Mike Williams from the Chargers. Big receiver, strong receiver, a guy that does have injury prone. He gets hurt, but it's a receiver that I think it will fit good, especially in the red zone. Because right now, when we go to the red zone, is a bunch of small receivers, Boykins that is not physical, and then Mark Andrews is your more reliable guy. So, yeah, I think a guy like Mike Williams, if the Chargers are in sell mode, you might be able – I think he's a free agent after this year, so you might be able to get as a rental for a 4th, I don't know, 5th round, whatever it is. But I think that type of receiver, but a true number 1, you ain't going to trade for a true number 1 at this point of the year.
Right. I think especially with the time getting ready to run out here on the trade deadline, it may force Baltimore's hand there. Another one from the Trip says, my issue with Greg is not when he calls a pass, it's what type at what time. Can't remember the last time Duvernay, Prochet, or Brown has caught a short ball. I also have another one from Garnett West for $5. Appreciate that, Garnett. The only way the system will change is if you get a big-time all-pro receiver, which will cause a change in the system. Just can't get anybody.
Be careful with what you wish for with the system changing there, though, because
Yeah.
like, that system was tailor-made. Like it was one of the things we lauded when Lamar came in,
Right.
is that it was so perfect for him. And now you're lobbying for change. You might end up seeing Lamar out here
Michael Thomas.
things he really shouldn't do, like taking snaps under center.
Thomas,
You
if
know,
I was Baltimore, Eric Acosta.
There's just not a plethora of guys in the NFL that know what to do with Lamar Jackson, and you got one in Greg Roman. So I just would be careful. Like I get that you don't like the timing of his play calling there, but you know, every game that I've seen the Ravens lose this year and even last year, I didn't come out of it thinking, oh man, the play calling cost them. I was like, nah, the execution just wasn't there. They had drops here and there, or they had this and there. And last year they were able to overcome them because Lamar was such a force running the ball. This year, it just ain't the same.
Let me say this. The Ravens fans won big time receivers, so then we can change to a more passing offense. And then when we call more passes, and if it doesn't work, they're going to be complaining about play calling. And what I've been saying is, what worked for this team? Pound the ball hard, let Lamar Jackson be more free in the running game. And then what that does is opens it up for receiver. Look, when we were running hard, that's when Snead got open. Snead wasn't making spectacular catches. They were just wide open throws because the defense or the Steelers were basically, let's just try to stop this run. And then they were trying to go more in what I saw. I haven't watched the 22 tape, but what I saw from what I was watching the game looked like they were going more zone, just making sure nobody was beating them over the top. So Snead was able to just work on the soft zone. They were watching Hollywood. They were watching Mark Andrews. So Snead, as the other guy, got open the zone because of the run was working hard. What people are saying is, let's get the number one. And yes, a number one will work. The problem with the number one is if you go into this heavy run style, a number one receiver is like, I'm not here to block. It's not my job. My job is to catch the ball. And if you're not going to get the ball to him, they're going to complain. Why are you not getting me the ball? And then you have to fundamentally change how this team is run. Because just do what made you great last year. That's what you need to go get back to.
Yeah, I think they need to just embrace their identity. Yeah, they need to just embrace their identity. I think a lot of what's going on with the Ravens is that so many people deemed it a gimmick last year when they were doing it so well, that there's like this self-consciousness within the building of like, oh, we're not a gimmick. We could do the same stuff. Lamar can do all this stuff. And it's like, it don't even matter if he can or cannot do the same stuff. Just do what he does really well, and then you'll be fine. This was the same thing with the Chiefs game. They had one drive where they did what they did in 2019. They scored. But everything else, they tried to do all this spread out stuff and like, oh, yeah, we're going to make sure Hollywood Brown could get the ball and we're going to give it to our receiver. It just ain't it. It ain't it. Like, embrace what you are. You know what I mean? Like, look, you ain't – I'm going to make an old school reference here. Just because you got a Betamax and everybody else got VHS don't mean you got to be out here trying to hide your Betamax tapes. Like, just roll with it. Just say, this is what I am. I'm the dude who bought the Sony Betamax. And you know what? It
was better than VHS. It's better than VHS.
But you know what? This beta pretty fly. Like, it's high quality. You know, I'm working with it. So I'm going to be out here buying. Like, just do that. You out here trying to get all these conversion tapes and being like, oh, yeah, we're going to do all. No, you ain't got to do all that. You got to do that stuff. You got Andy Dalton as your quarterback, where you just got to be like, we got to figure it out and try to do the seams. No, you know what he does well. Do what he does well. He won an MVP doing it well. And when you consistently just say, you know what? I don't care what anybody else is going to say or do. I'm going to do what I do. Like, Kyle Shanahan is a gangster at this. This is the one thing Kyle Shanahan is a gangster in. Kyle Shanahan will never, ever, 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 even if it hurts him, go away from his system. He's going to be like, nah, dog, we're going to be running these play action boots down 23-0, and that's what we're going to do. And sometimes it works out because that's what you're good at. But that's all I got to say about this game. The Ravens, they just frustrated me with how they came into this season, not wanting to embrace what won them so much last year. And I don't know why they're just struggling to go into it all in like they should.
Can we talk Steelers for a second? When we spent a lot of time on the Ravens, I just want to know. I just want to get on record because here we are 7-0. The next 3 games for the Steelers are at Cowboys, at Jaguars, home for Bengals. Is that the next 3? believe
3
that's it.
losses.
So likely 10-0 going into that Thursday night game against the Baltimore Ravens. I just want to get on record. What percentage chance from each of you that the Steelers go 16-0 this year?
Very low. I don't know. Whatever it is. See, the
0%.
The problem with this. The problem with the Steelers have is they're not gonna have a bye, right? They had a bye very early, so at some point, I think fatigue will caught up to them, and they will have a bad game. This is not because they're a bad team. It's just the nature of it.
I mean, 7-0 is 7-0. They're an elite team right now.
Yeah,
but we've seen chinks in the armor, right? We've seen, teams come back, and eventually somebody's got to at least get them. Even if it's one loss, I think someone's going to catch them at the end there.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you guys. I think there's probably like a 5% chance the Steelers go undefeated. The thing I'm more worried about now is that they're going to have that dumb loss that they always have. And they actually didn't have one 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they didn't have the dumb loss. So maybe they're through that, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think the biggest thing, though, that counts against the Steelers going 16-0 in all seriousness is, one, I don't know. They still got 2 tough games here. They play Cleveland on the road, which is not a tough game necessarily for the Steelers historically, but might be tough this year, especially since it's week 17 and the Browns are probably
way more to play for.
Something.
Yeah.
And the Steelers might not. Also, the Ravens coming back to Pittsburgh, they might be able to win there. And, just since you're playing so many games in a stretch, like I would leave room for a random loss there. Yeah. I don't know who it is, but like if the
Colts
Steelers,
and Bills are on the schedule too.
If the Steelers go 16-0, if the Steelers go 16-0, they go 16-0, and I'll just have to take one of the largest L's in human history, going from 6-10.
You were right though. 6-10, 16-0. It had you had the same ring. It just was you were a little off. You were just a little off.
14-3 is
it started with a 6 is what I'm trying to say. 16-0 is what you meant to say. Got it.
And it will end with the 6. 14-3 is what I'm predicting.
All right. So before we get out of here, we got 2 more shout outs here. The Trib one, appreciate you, bro. No system change. Upgrade the talent. Better plays. And we got Ray Bostaff here that says trade for Fuller. You might get him for a second or maybe a fourth. What about Julio Jones, right? Like if they could make that happen.
No, Julio's not trading. He's not getting traded.
I mean, they're blowing it up there in Atlanta. I mean, why not?
Yeah, but the cap hit is massive. Yeah. No, it's not even for the Ravens because I'm sure the Ravens can probably redo his deal. Right. But Atlanta, I think it's like a 50 or 60 million cap hit. I mean, it's insane.
There's no way they're trading him then.
I mean, like, I don't want to be the guy to say this, but is Julio Jones going to be the guy who's going to help you not choke leads in the clutch? Like,
wow,
he's not going to catch touchdowns.
You want to get You want to get some Falcons in there. You want to surround yourself.
Is trading Falcon going to plug that one?
One thing I have to say though is who has been Lamar Jackson's best receiver? Like, has he ever definitively had a guy? Let's just say receiver. Is it Michael Crabtree? Was that his best receiver?
Willie Snead. Willie Snead. It's been Willie Snead.
Willie Snead.
That's the option.
That is not. 2 years now. We've got to see him with a legit number one receiver. Willie Snead. No disrespect to him, he is not a number one receiver in this NFL. We got to get him something to at least see that there. But thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the AFC North channel. Obviously, we ran over a little. It's very heated. It was a great show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Before we get out of here, Sonny, let them know where they can find your stuff.
SZG Sports everywhere, guys. YouTube, Facebook, IG, Twitter. I'm going to try to pull a video tomorrow, live stream on what I think is the problems with the Ravens and what they should do moving forward. Also here, guys, you usually wear Tuesday, but today because election tomorrow. But Tuesday and Thursday, 5:45 p.m. Eastern. Hey, you have to come in. You have to hit that bell. So if we change the date, you know what it is.
And Tony, where can we find your stuff, sir?
Well, of course, you can find me here every Tuesday and Thursday, like Sonny said, 5:45 p.m. Eastern time. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Steeler Country. You can find me on Locked On Steelers. I'll be on tomorrow's show. So, no, I won't be on tomorrow's show. I'll be on Thursday's show. Wednesday's show? What day is today? Today is Monday. I will be on. Yeah, so I'll be on Wednesday's show this week. I don't know what day it is. I'm lost. The Steelers actually winning this game, being 7-0. I've lost track of everything. Time, space, all of it. Reality. All right, you can find me on Twitter at Steeler Country. Find me on Locked On Steelers every Tuesday, but I'll be on Wednesday this week, and you can find me here on AFC North Talk.
Yeah, and I think I have to give a shout out to our unofficial member here, the Trib. Appreciate you. Yeah, bro. Hey. We can find you in the comments with the super chat, so we appreciate that, Trib.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And Quincy, where can they find your stuff?
I'm going to be taking a nice long nap during this Browns bye week, getting some well-needed rest in. Also, you can catch me taking a very, 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 very hot shower immediately after this podcast to get this stank off me. It smells like Stiller. I feel like Stiller. I feel like I'm about to start saying yins and start talking about the season for Ben, baby, and start like being one of those guys on Twitter. So I need to get this off before it infects my brain. So you know what? Find me on Twitter, youtube.com/Quincy Carrier, all that jazz, and we gonna get this off because I'm done. I'm clocking out. That's it. Boy, he got the hat on. Oh
My goodness. Let Ben cook some turnovers. Let's get it. All right. You can find me, Ace Boogie, at New Stripe City. That's the YouTube channel. Of course, you can also find me here, AFC North Talk. If you're still watching this, please be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell. This week, we went with Monday instead of Tuesday because of the election, but you can catch us on Tuesdays. But if you didn't do that, if you didn't hit that notification bell, you're probably watching this the next day like, oh, how did I miss this? What's going on? Hit that notification bell, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate you guys. This has been the AFC North Talk.
Go vote.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.